For the past 10 days, I've been busy writing, refining, speaking, reading, editing, debuting a new podcast. So I haven't reacted publicly to Central Park, Louisville, or Minnesota. Not because I'm oblivious to the carnage. I've just been busy. But I know me. I know how I work. And like that old random access memory they used to teach us back in middle school about computers, there's read-only memory, which is up front, right there, what is actually happening right now in the computer. Then there's random access memory, processes that are going on all the time that we're just not aware of. You know, like the limbic system in the brain, just things that are just automatic. So I know all this that's going on around me, the reaction to the police, the riots, the videos that are coming in more and more and more and more and more. I know I'm processing it on a deeper level because I cannot not do that. This is the reality we face. It is something that is on my brain. As somebody who has posted videos about, for lack of a better word, Black consciousness, I don't typically react to things. I hate that word. What is your reaction? I think a reaction is a base statement. I think taking time to ponder, get into yourself and recognize what you want to say, how you want to react, to give a broader perspective is a much wiser stance. I like to know that I'm speaking my truth from a deeper level and not simply reacting. Part of that is the recognition that the other side, they expect reaction. They want reaction. Their lives are made more whole in terms of their conception of us as Black people, oppressed people, if all we do is react. And I'm not going to get into the whole how you should protest. And there is no one way to protest. The nature of protest is that it somehow makes you unnerved if you are considered part of the problem or if you are oblivious to the problem. You should be unnerved. That is the point. 50% plus of the nation did not like or agree with Martin Luther King, the Black hero that most white folks know and love. 50% of your parents or grandparents did not agree with him, did not like him, thought he was more or less Colin Kaepernick. You're living that now. However much growth you think that we've done as a nation or that you've done personally, and you're sitting in your comfortable house, looking out at this carnage and saying, oh God, why, oh God? It's the same thing that your parents and grandparents did when they looked out and Watts was burning and Newark was burning. Or not even that violent, when they looked out and saw the marches and the dogs and the people being killed, the carnage that has never stopped. So if you want to think that you've changed and this country has changed, save me that bullshit. Save me that bullshit. Because I'm back in the same fight as my father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather. Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? Because you haven't changed. But I didn't do it. I didn't do anything. No. But you're complicit in it because you didn't do anything. And you've never done anything. The structural and endemic racism in this country, the doing away with it, ain't going to be done by Black people. You know why? Because we're 400 years into this fight, and here I am again, doing the same thing my father did, my mother did, my grandfather did, my grandmother did, all the way back. I'm going to be 45 years old soon. We're just about giving up. I don't hold hope for the people who can actually change this system. And this has nothing to do with the government, because I also despise the people who go on and then at the end of the day they say, well, it's the government. No. The government is made up of individual people. Look at the physical makeup of the government and then tell me who are the people that are controlling things. Don't brandish this, the government. No, the other side wants that nonsense to be spread. The swamp, no, the swamp is made up of a bunch of people who are making pointed decisions that are affecting my life and your life. And if you're wondering who they are, look at the physical makeup of the government for the entire history of this republic. But I'm not going to go down the road about the government. I wanted to talk today, to respond today, out of something a little bit more organic. Like I woke up this morning and I read a post by a young lady. She's about my age. We went to school together, college together. She's a white woman, and let's just for the sake of argument call her Kelly. So I woke up this morning, and one of the first things that popped on my Facebook timeline was a post that Kelly wrote. Her words, and I quote, "I want to apologize to every person of color I have ever met. I've rarely been witness to racism, and when I have, I chalk it up to that one educated idiot. I've had play dates, teammates, friends, boyfriends, co-workers who were not white. I don't hit it off with everyone, but I never dislike anyone because of the color of their skin. How did I live 45 years without realizing how bad this is? I remember arguing with this person in high school about how racism didn't exist anymore. But now I know it was just because I didn't see it. I didn't know what I had witnessed. Why did I never ask my friends what they had experienced? Why did I just believe the news was about that one place and that it didn't or could never happen to the people I care about? Was I naive because I was brought up in a family that treated everyone with kindness? Or is it because I just did not want to see? Now, I cannot unsee. Now I wonder what will happen. I walk in my nice, safe suburban neighborhood and realize I can only do this and not look over my shoulders because I am white. I'm sorry, friends, for not asking how you feel. I'm sorry for dismissing your anger and not seeking to understand it. I will do better. We all need to do better. That post moved me to respond directly to her, and I don't get in back and forth with people on social media. I don't see the point of that. To me, it's just I want attention, so I'm going to post this bombastic comment under a video or a post and just try to go back and forth. It's pointless to me. But I will message people directly, which I did with her. I actually got up. I got up and I went to the toilet and I sat on my toilet bowl because this is some bullshit that I'm going to have to write. Some bullshit that we're all dealing with. Not that what she wrote was bullshit. This thing that continues to happen 400 years later. That's the bullshit. I also know when I'm compelled to write, and I'm going to read what I wrote to you, I get in these moments sometimes where thoughts flow, where it feels like you're a conductor from heaven, meaning the universe, God, Allah, whoever you want to believe in, is sending you a message, and I'm just there kind of just transcribing it, and I don't want to stop. And so I sat on my toilet bowl for probably 20 minutes and wrote to her directly. I'm going to share that as kind of my response to this week, or this week that was. White allyship, and again, my friend, Kelly from college, is a white person, and she says she's about 45 years old. White allyship is what white people basically, it's your job to destroy racism. I think y'all look at this and say that, well, black people have to teach us what to do. You know what to fucking do. Do the right thing. Do what your Bible tells you. Do what morality tells you. If it's wrong, call it out and make it right. Not for my sake, really, for your sake. How can you live in this psychic limbo, this schism in your mind where you see wrong and you let it perpetrate? And this is what this woman was admitting that she had let happen for 45 years. I'm not angry with her, or we've texted back and forth privately. And this is the moment and the situation I'm in right now. I'm going to say something, and I now have to qualify it to salve the hearts and the minds of white people right now, because I don't want to come off as being an angry black man. I took my time. I reasoned through this. And listen to me. I'm going to have to tell you, educated, aware adults, that this is not an attack on you. If you think it is, that is in your mind. But this is part of the problem. I have to placate your feelings for 400 years because you don't want to see the truth. All this was going on around my friend's face for 45 years, for 400 years. And she asked, was I naive? Yes. Were you sheltered? Yes. Was there a systemic attempt to keep you that way? Absolutely. No different than what was going on in South Africa. More pronounced there, more strident there, more direct there, but still the same. I have a 10-month-old daughter. She's half white, she's half black. People who know me would consider me an educated, aware, intelligent person that can have a conversation about just about anything, I think. But I avoid race because at this point in my life, I don't see the point in talking to white people about it. Any one of you will do nothing. And this is an old man being jaded because you asked me 20 years ago, and I wrote a book about this that I've been sitting on too long. I held out hope. I was coming off my adolescence, the energy and hope of an adolescent boy. Of course we can. Of course we can change this. Every day I live, I lose hope because there are more Kellys in the world. Good people, wonderful people, got black friends. Like she said, dated everybody, didn't care. But 45 years into life, completely unaware. The salvation of this country is not going to come from attacking and wiping out the so-called rednecks. It is that get out demographic, the well-meaning, clean living, morally upstanding, want to do good white folks in this country who have no fucking clue. None whatsoever. And I hear you talking with well-meaning intentions, wanting to understand. But one, it's not my damn job to teach you. If you don't know, then what am I supposed to do? On top of everything else I have to do as a black man in America, I've got to teach you. You're an adult. None of this ever snapped into your mind? None of this at all? But I will. I will, because I'm a teacher, I'm a coach. It's what life has ordained me to do. And I do it in multiple ways. Books, videos, posts, podcasts. Teaching is part of my life. So if this is a version of teaching, then yeah, let me teach. But you must know that it gets exhausting. You're an adult. All the videos that you've seen over the past 5 years, why is it that this one in Minnesota moved you? What was wrong with all the other ones? Why is this Minnesota video the Emmett Till moment? That's what I've been wondering. My lady said that she's been online and people, just other white women that she congregates with in the social media world, are kind of moved by this. And they're talking about, wow, what should we do? But why did it take you this long, people? Why this death? And it's a combination of factors. We're all stuck at home dealing with COVID-19, and you're forced to contemplate. If this happened in the course of the regular business of America, you're going about your week, going to work, taking the kids to soccer practice, dance, playing your video games or what have you, and there's too much to think about. But now you're forced to think about this because there's not really a lot else going on in your working mind. So you see something like this and your mind wants to work. So you wonder why the poor reacts to this stuff? Because while you're busy working for your car payment, your house payment, shepherding your kids back and forth, the poor who are cut out from the economy, the poor who would want to be doing all these things that you complain about doing, because that would mean they would have money to do it. Those people have time. They're living in a pandemic every single day because they're cut out from opportunities. So all they have to do sometimes is think about this shit. This moment that you're in when you have no other thoughts in your mind this week but this thing, and this is the thing that moved you. It only moved you because it somehow found its way into your blood, into your pores. It seeped into your body. You had time to process it as a human being would and should. What is it, 20, 30, 40 deaths on the news, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram? 50? How many did it take you to this week say, oh my God, there's a problem? Eric Garner, not enough. Philando Castile, not enough. Sandra Bland, not enough. Not enough? Why must it take the blood from black bodies and death for you to be moved? How hardened is your heart? How hardened is it that it takes death in your face to feel something? How removed are you from reality? How distant are you from your own moral compass? How far afield? How far a sea? Where are you drifting? Where are you going? And then you expect me to figure out a way to get you back? But I have to, because the solution to this issue is not going to come from black people because you don't care enough. And there are well-meaning, yeah, my friend, 45 years old, she's going to admit, and we all admit she's a well-meaning, wonderful, God-fearing, good person. But she's done nothing. And she's waking up today recognizing that she has done nothing. So what was my response to her? So I'm on my toilet seat dealing with this shit, and this is my response. This is me responding to this week, really. Good morning, Kelly. Thank you for posting that moment of clarity. The first part of fixing any problem is the recognition that there is a problem and that either you're part of the problem or have the energy and willingness to be part of the solution. I know you fall into the latter category. White allies are needed, wanted, prayed for from the first days of slavery till the end of time. You know why? Because racism ain't going nowhere. I saw your high school buddy's response in your thread. He's forgiven you. I don't think he ever held a grudge or will ever hold a grudge against you. At some point, a conscious, aware black man in America, we know there's a limit. No, there's nothing, absolutely nothing we can do. Not against the extremists, not against the racists, not against the rednecks, not against the ignorant. There's nothing we can do as 11, 13, 16, 23, 30, 45-year-old men against the well-meaning, good-living, God-fearing, rainbow-loving, liberal-minded, nice white friends that we have. Not until, like you yesterday, they see. And we always wonder what it will take until they see. until you see. Imagine the thousands of images, the thousands of actions, the thousands of lessons, the hundreds of talks, the millions of messages, direct and indirect, that have passed over your senses these past 45 years. And it's not your parents' fault, not your family, not your fault for being personally culpable, being stupid or blind. Having the shutter over your eyes, that is the definition of white privilege. That's the thing you keep hearing about. That's the thing you may have dismissed these 45 years. That's the structural and institutional racism thing that black pundits on TV mention. The people who nobody listens to or believes. And I saw a guy on your thread who quickly clapped back on your post with numbers and statistics and Chicago, Chicago, Chicago. And they, them, those, they will always have an answer to justify what they don't want to see. At the end of the day, they have to pick a side. You got to pick a side. To recognize you or anyone is part of a problem is to be riddled with too much psychological guilt. And most Americans, most human beings don't want that. Americans don't even want to stay home for a few days or months. Do it for the overall good of the country so that our world can be a safer, healthier place. And many don't want to. Why? Because it bothers their individual sense of what their world should be like, what it should look like. It's about their individualism and how they feel. It ain't about the collective good of the country, the health of the many going into the future, or the health of the world at large. Those gun-toting white neighbors or distant cousins or former friends you've now dismissed because you see their real side posted on Facebook, the ones in Michigan brandishing guns at the Capitol, they cannot see. They never saw. They never will see. Imagine how frustrating that is. They are willing and ready to destroy the world. They would rather do that than change their individual perception of the state of affairs. And like your friend from high school, or me at our college, we just watch. At the end of the day, we stop talking to you and we just watch, we smile, and we walk away. Because no explanation will work, not until you see black bodies dying. That's the price we are forced to pay as black men. Until we are willing to die. And not even then. Because people like your buddy in your post will say, we're protesting against nothing, that the majority of cops are good, that we live in a country that gives us so much opportunities. There's opportunities everywhere. People come here for this. The majority of people are good. Nobody is questioning that. That is not the point. That we should be protesting against welfareism or black on black crime or Chicago, Chicago, Chicago. The depths that folk like him have to sink to deny what's in front of their face, it is fucking remarkable. But it ain't accidental, Kelly. He's not a bad person. He was made that way. He was created in the image of his creator. You live in a white, racist, privileged country. You live in a white, racist, privileged town. You were born in one, raised in one, went to church in the most privileged places of worship, spoke to your white God without taking into account what he must have allowed to happen to black folks on the other side of the town because, well, that stuff didn't happen to you, to those you knew, not near you. So God must have been looking out for you. It was godly meant for you to have the life you lived. You live in a white, racist, privileged house. That's not a slight. I don't know your husband, ain't never met him, ain't judging your beautiful children. I'm just extending a logical conclusion to address a fallacy. If the nation is this way, if your neighborhood has always been this way, if your good family was this way, your good friends, your neighbors, etc., then your house ain't immune. It's a pandemic. And that's the rub, Kelly. No one wants to admit that their house is infected, but it is. It always has been. What do you do now? And again, this is what every person in your situation wants to find out. You want to look to a black person and say, what do I do? Most of the time, we don't have answers for you. But I will give you this advice. Don't end activism with writing checks. I mean, yes, write some damn checks. Black Lives Matter needs your checks and those of your rich, extended white families. BLM needs white allies because, and this is the key to all of this, you now have to battle people like that guy in your thread because you know where they live, you know where they play, you know where they worship because they worship next to you, live next to you, play next to you, and they choose to interact only with the black people who fit their profile, and allow them never to question their own sickness. This man had the gall to say that he raises black children. I'm assuming he might have adopted some black children or fostered some black children, that he raises 2 black kids. Why? Why would he make a point of saying that? Or why would he make a point of doing that? In my opinion, it is because it reinforces the black family and absent black father problem he never wants to forget. Remember, he mentioned that in your thread. X percentage of black households. Yes, absolutely. He wants to remember that because he has to. Every day he looks at those black kids that he is quote unquote helping, it only serves his psychological interest. Keeps him from opening the shutters over his mind to start questioning, start seeing, start changing, start being better, start being a fucking man. Kelly, I am really heartened that you woke up today and came to this realization. You've taken a step. It's important. It really is. But I'm going to keep it 100 with you right now. You ready? You ready for this? Conscious black folk, we pity white ignorance. And not the far right, not the alt-right, not the excess. I'm talking about the well-meaning good folks that outnumber the rednecks, the good old folks, the reasonable people, the educated people, the 66% plus of white women who voted for Donald Trump. They're like children, little babies, little toddlers that we, the conscious, have to teach over and over and over and over again for 400 years to see the world they live in, the world that you live in. I told them I'm going to keep it 100. You admit, in some sense, that you've been a child, a baby. I got to this country at age 9, and I understood it fast and quick. Grew up real quick to racism, overt, covert, unconscious, structural, and every day since then has been a lesson in dealing with and making my way on despite its traps. You have been trapped, Kelly. Now you know this. You are no longer a child. So do what grown-ups do. They do the shit that needs to get done. So I'm watching you. Please write your checks. Have your children around more black kids. Join the black group with the black activities and the black agenda. All great. Especially them checks. But know that your biggest contribution will be battling the people like your friend who yell Chicago, Chicago, Chicago when the issue you bring up is the murder, the summary execution of one man in public in front of the whole world, and done so because the white man who knelt on his neck, or the white men who chased Aubrey down with their pickup trucks and their neighbors to do their civic duty and talk to the brother about why he was jogging away from them? Or the Karens who know how to weaponize what it means to be in racist America where white women are the most sacred. When a black man has the unmitigated gall while he's bird watching. Who the fuck watches birds? What black man does that? But we found one. And he had the temerity to ask her to follow the rules in Central Park. And she knew that one phone call full of pretend anger could get him killed. And she was ready to do it. So I'm watching you, Kelly. Not like the police. I'm talking about the group with Sting. You know what I mean. Come on, man. I had to joke a little bit just to bring some levity here. It's a heavy, heavy time. But I'm watching you, not to judge you. I'm hoping that by opening your eyes now, you not only judge the places and people and things you thought you knew, you judge yourself, but don't judge yourself harshly. Don't be overly critical. You were a child. You've been a child. Those facts that your buddy keeps commenting on, those facts that those people love to prop up because they feel that they're morally and intellectually superior because they can talk and reason while black folk react with emotion. It's a fact that you've been a child for 45 years. Now you're not. The Bible says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. So on this Sunday morning, another beautiful day the Lord has made, Kelly, I ask you to please stay alert. Keep your eyes opened, walking steady, moving on, And I love and appreciate the person you're becoming, because we will need you. So she responded, beautiful and so powerful. Again, I'm assuming and I hope all this stuff is being ingested and it's not just a beautiful poem or a beautiful essay. So I continue to pose, to challenge, to try to teach, because there is no other thing we can do. So I asked her, and going back to our college days, I went to college in the South, North Carolina. Played soccer. It's a mixed team, a very diverse team, the most diverse team probably in our whole conference. And when I saw this Kelly person, the person who kind of brought her around us was a friend she had from high school, one of the other players on the team, a brother on the team. So I asked her, and this is regard that black friend, just imagine what Devon didn't bother bringing up with you. Again, Devon is a member of the team. I'm not saying what y'all ever spoke about or talked about. Maybe y'all had some real conversations all these years. But I remember a more happy-go-lucky existence between y'all two, always joking around, more innocent. Maybe it had to be kept that way because you couldn't see. More importantly, he didn't want to tell you. Because Devon and I had conversations about racism. He wasn't blind to it. I'm not presuming that you know, but I always wondered about that dynamic between y'all two. But the first time I heard Craig say to Devon, "What you talking about, boy?" Now, I'm from New York City. My first year coming to the South, I looked at those words differently. But the more I studied Craig and Devon's dynamic, I accepted that they were friends. I mean, real friends. These guys had played ball together since they were toddlers. So when Devon called Craig boy right back and they joke and move on, it took me a couple of months, but I just accepted that's just a personal thing they have with each other. Now, there are other systemic reasons why a white friend would feel comfortable calling his black friend boy without recognizing the historical implications of such a word. But again, you're in the South. It is what it is. But Kelly, I'm asking you, knowing what you know today and thinking back to your buddy from high school, I want you to also think back to the many black friends who, come on, they're not blind to racism, even at 15, 16, 17 years old, and how it manifested onto them as teenagers or young men and women. Think about how quiet they kept it with you, to be honest, for you, to keep you sheltered and fragile, either one, because they didn't think you'd ever see, or two, they didn't have the strength to fight a fruitless battle, especially against youthful ignorance or lack of life experience, the cumulative life experience that has gotten to the point where you made that post yesterday. I want you to think about the black girls you knew, or thought you knew, what they really knew and kept it moving with you, so they could try and have a good time with you and those around you at the parties, the ball games. You were a cheerleader. That means you were around black men. And if there were other black women around you, around black men, there was a lot of shit they thought about you, about those men, and how privileged you were in that company. And I'm sure you might have exploited that. You had to. What did they feel about you? Really feel about you? There's a cult classic movie that I think you should watch. It's campy. People refused to see it when it came out. But it's the kind of story that should strike a chord with you right now, because like the main character in that movie, you're seeing the world for what it is. The glasses are off. Again, nobody really paid attention to that movie. It's John Carpenter's They Live. Maybe it wasn't that good, but the message was. And why do things fail like that movie, Kelly? Are they bad? Or do people simply not want to see the truth? And if the movie was made for white people in America, did they just not want to see the truth? Do they ever? Did you? There are many ways to interpret the movie They Live, but I hope that you go about watching it just thinking about the black and white history of America. So I guess she'd taken the information in and she responded, as close as Devon and I were, he never told me anything and I never saw anything. I guess he was protecting me. And the more I read through her comments on our Facebook page, especially that guy who kept saying Chicago, Chicago, Chicago. He sounds like a made-up bot, because he really is. I think there are bots out there that read certain algorithms on social media and simply respond by throwing out these Republican right-wing talking points. I said he sounds like a bot deployed with talking points whenever someone like you or your black friends post stuff like this. His answers just don't seem real. And know that following this moment of clarity, the people like that of the world have marked you and will come after you in social media. That's just the game now. Know this, but please don't stop talking. And so she responded that this friend of hers grew up in Chicago, and that he does not know how to communicate on social media or in person. He comes across so hateful, but he has always been a defender of civil rights. And I think he feels the need to defend himself. I don't know. So my response to her was, I think he communicates fine. I certainly see who he is. He's a grown-ass man who knows what his words mean and what they can do. No different from that Cooper lady in Central Park knowing what saying to the police, an African-American man is bothering me. She knew what that meant. So this friend of yours knows exactly what words to use to provoke people to get his point across. I asked you, Kelly, how many slights or semi-racist or overtly racist things do you now recognize you let slip by all these years? From acquaintances to good friends like this buddy of yours. But now that you know the truth compels you to recognize that those good guys, good people deep inside and defend civil rights, they can't possibly be. And that's just my opinion. But they can't possibly defend shit but the ignorance that they're spewing. He strikes me based on his response, and again, I don't know him from Adam, as one of those guys who believes and classifies themselves as free-thinking libertarians. I have a little issue with these idiots. They're usually white men from working-class upbringings who believe in Second Amendment rights, carrying guns, and defending themselves against big government and the state. In this case, I'm meaning the police. So because they're against state incursion, police action, and want everyone to just be left alone to act as each person wants to, they might think, in their convoluted mind, that that's a good thing for black people, no police being around, you get to do what you want to do. They never recognize that I can never, have never, and will never be allowed to be myself in a racist, privileged, white society that will always, always uphold his interest over mine, especially if the government doesn't step in and protect my blackness. When left to their own devices and decisions, Kelly, again, let's be 100 here. Because you're ready. You've seen and you now can't unsee. When left alone, the worst among white people in America, will kill me and my family. And the rest, like you before you came to this moment of clarity, will watch and do nothing. And forgive your friends, like this dude from Chicago. This dude who will always find a way to get their rhetoric into your mind because something prevents you from hearing what Angela Rye or Don Lemon or Boyce Watkins or Steven Jackson, the basketball player, good friend, or our dead brother in Minnesota, or any progressive black voice has been saying for, 400 fucking years. And I'm tempted right now to write, I know that's not you. Tempted to salve your heart and spare your feelings so you don't think you're under attack, especially when you've reached this moment of clarity. But I'm hoping I don't have to do that, Kelly. I'm good with you. I am pleased that you are where you are and that you are hopefully with us. But the truth is the truth. That's not your friend. If he ain't my friend, he ain't your friend. And if you're not going to do something about him, then none of this means anything. I think there were people out there wondering and waiting for a response. The man who does all this talking. It's like Edward G. Robinson in the Ten Commandments. Where's your God now? Where's your voice now? We're always talking about voice, but that's my voice. That's my voice. I'm trying to come up with a good cap on this, a good way to end this and wrap it all up and leave on a good note. But I don't know. I'm probably going to wake up next week and this shit is going to keep happening. This is America. I'm losing hope, but it's not gone. I have faith in individual goodness. I truly do. I'm happy to be in this country because it's provided a whole lot of opportunity for me. Where there's so many people left out for the opportunities here, for things that can be fixed. And don't give me fixing the hearts and minds of people, because that hearts and minds shit has been 400 years in the waiting. And it's bullshit because people haven't changed. If they did, we wouldn't be protesting. It wouldn't take the 100th death in front of your face to make you realize this. Go back and read about Emmett Till and the reactions to it. For the Kellys of the world, you are back in that moment. If you thought that what was no longer is, specifically in the South, you are back there. This is happening again. It never stopped happening. So that means your parents and your grandparents didn't do shit. Yeah, your family didn't do anything because they're hoping, I guess, black people would. And by doing nothing, black people couldn't. This is not a plea and a begging for white people. But I just want you to see, you own this country. The worst among you believe that wholeheartedly. And the facts and the stats kind of prove that to them. If this is your land, then make it a better place, please. I don't want to have to die. I don't want to have to die I don't want to have to die for that to happen. I want to live in a better tomorrow with you. For ARMAUD, ARBERY, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd.